Do you remember the first time you watched Stranger Things? Will's disappearance, Eleven's powers, the secret lab. It all seemed like science fiction. But what if I told you much of it was inspired by real events? Yes, long before the series existed, experiments with children, interdimensional portals, and even mind control were part of a secret the US government tried to bury. The name? The Montauk Project. And that's just the beginning. In this video, you're going to discover the real story behind Stranger Things. You might think it's just another conspiracy theory, but many documents were destroyed, and those who tried to speak up disappeared. The sources used to create this video are listed in the description. The Montauk Project, the military base that inspired Stranger Things. In the far reaches of Long Island, New York, there's a military installation called Camp Hero, surrounded by trees and silence. Officially, it was just a decommissioned Air Force station. But for some, it was the real setting of bizarre experiments, exactly like the lab in the series. Former employees and whistleblowers claim the government conducted tests on children with psychic abilities, training them for mental warfare, manipulation, and even to open portals between dimensions. These stories gained attention in the 1980s through the books of Preston Nichols, a supposed former scientist on the project, who said he recovered repressed memories of the experiments. The similarities to Stranger Things are far too close to be coincidence. And that's not all. Witnesses described monsters coming through portals, mysterious disappearances, and technologies that defied physics. The show was originally titled Montauk. The creators only changed it to Hawkins after deciding not to film in Long Island. But the dark DNA of the project stayed in the script. But if the Montauk Project is a theory, where SIP's the hard evidence, let SIPs now look at what really happened. What SIPs officially documented, #MK Ultra, the real mind control experiment. Between the 1950s and 1970s, the CIA ran a secret program called MK Ultra, officially revealed years later through declassified files. Its goal was chilling to develop methods of total mind control, using psychedelic drugs, hypnosis, and psychological torture. The victims? Many were children, prisoners, and psychiatric patients, completely unaware they were being used as human test subjects. In the name of national security, they were injected with LSD, placed in isolation, and pushed into complete mental breakdown. The character 11 is, in fact, a reflection of these practices, isolated in a lab, used as a weapon, trained to access other dimensions. Her story closely mirrors real cases exposed by MK Ultra survivors. Even though the program officially ended in 1973, many believe its methods were absorbed into other black-budget operations. The most disturbing part? Much of the documentation was destroyed by order of the CIA itself. If this much is already public, what else are they hiding? How many Hawkins labs are still operating in silence around the world? And what if some children today are still reporting strange abilities and memories they shouldn't have? Special children, the real stories that inspired 11. All over the world, there are chilling reports of children allegedly trained in secret government projects, many claiming to possess unusual abilities, telekinesis, mind reading, heightened perception. In the US, especially after MK Ultra, adults began sharing memories of being used as test subjects during childhood, often with only fragments of memory, visions of cold rooms, faceless scientists, and experiments involving fear and pain. These stories form the foundation for 11, a girl taken from her mother at birth, raised in captivity, tested ruthlessly. Her name in the show, a number, is a mirror of how these victims were labeled in real-life classified files. There are also reports involving regression hypnosis, where some patients claimed they were trained in mental activation for psychic espionage. Coincidence or a truth that was never meant to surface? These accounts may seem far-fetched until you realize that most of those victims were silenced, discredited, or simply vanished. But if psychic testing was real, what else were those children exposed to? What did they see on the other side? The upside down, where did this terrifying idea come from? The upside down in Stranger Things feels like fantasy, but it might be closer to reality than you think, especially when you examine theories of parallel universes and declassified paranormal research. During the alleged Montauk Project, whistleblowers claimed they opened interdimensional portals using electromagnetic waves and psychic energy. What came through? A dark, lifeless realm filled with hostile, incomprehensible entities. Sound familiar? That's the Upside Down, a distorted version of our world where time behaves strangely and shadowy beings observe us. Scientists like John von Neumann and Nikola Tesla are frequently linked to theories involving time-space folds and vibrational frequencies that could open rifts in reality. So when 11 touches a wall and feels something else, is that fiction, or a dramatized version of what someone actually saw but was never supposed to talk about? And what if the Demogorgon is just a metaphor for something that really lurks between dimensions? Real-life disappearances, when fiction mirrors truth. In the show, Will Byers' disappearance kicks off the chaos, but it echoes real-life cases of missing children in the US, especially throughout the 70s and 80s. Records from that time show a disturbing rise in disappearances, often involving children between the ages of 8 and 12, mostly from quiet towns. Some were found, most were not. In communities near military bases, conspiracy theories emerged, claiming the children were taken for secret experiments, just like in MK Ultra and Montauk. Families reported odd behavior from authorities and absolute silence from the media. There's no concrete proof linking these cases to black-budget programs, but the parallels with Stranger Things are eerie. Innocent children abducted, silenced, and replaced with official lies. When fiction mirrors reality this closely, you have to ask, was Stranger Things meant to entertain us? Or warn us? And what if this story was told in symbols, because the truth was too dark to handle? Hash the CIA, the government, and the silence. Why does no one talk about this? Why don't stories like these make headlines? Why is MK Ultra something you only hear about in fringe documentaries? The answer is simple: narrative control. Real documents about human experimentation have been declassified, but most are incomplete, censored, or mysteriously missing. And those who tried to dig deeper face something far scarier than silence: threats, discredit, or disappearance. Agencies like the CIA mastered the art of erasing evidence, destroying files, and coding dangerous truths with a layer of fiction. They knew if the public found out what had really been done, mass panic would follow. That's why projects like Montauk are buried under ridicule. And Stranger Things? To some, it's entertainment. But for those who lived through it or know too much, it's a message hidden inside a brilliant script. After all, what's easier, admitting you kidnapped children to open portals, or letting people believe it was just a Netflix show? And what if the only reason this story was allowed to be told is because the names were changed? Demogorgon, is the monster more real than it seems? The Demogorgon seems like a fantasy creature from a Dungeons & Dragons game, but what if it's actually a symbolic representation of something that really exists between dimensions? Many testimonies connected to the Montauk Project mention entities seen during portal opening sessions, twisted, predatory, intelligent forms that didn't seem like hallucinations. Witnesses claim that through electromagnetic manipulation and altered states of consciousness, gateways were opened and things came through. They had smells, presence, and left marks in the environment. In the series, the Demogorgon is drawn to blood, acts in silence, and emerges from the Upside Down. Strangely enough, real-life accounts describe predatory beings that targeted humans, especially children experiencing extreme fear. Coincidence? Or is the Demogorgon a safe version of something too dark to show? A creature based on something real seen by those who were never supposed to tell? Because sometimes, the scariest monsters don't come from other worlds. They wear lab coats and government badges. Interdimensional portals, a technology that already exists. In the series, 11 opens portals with her mind. Sounds absurd, until you realize that for decades, scientists linked to the government have experimented with breaking the barriers of space and time. And the most disturbing part? They may have succeeded. At the heart of the Montauk Project, according to insiders, there was a machine designed to manipulate electromagnetic fields and human brainwaves. The goal? Tear open the fabric of reality. The result? Unstable and uncontrollable portals. Testimonies claim these holes allowed images, sounds, entities to pass through, not illusions. Real, physical beings, things that were never meant to be here. The fear became so intense that the project was allegedly shut down or moved somewhere even more secret. And don't think this ended in the 80s. Today, research continues into quantum portals, dark matter, and parallel universes, all in the name of science. But what are they really trying to access? Because maybe that portal you saw in Stranger Things was already opened, and what came through it never left. And if the next opening doesn't happen in Hawkins, but in your city, would you recognize the signs? The Russians, fiction, or a shadow war unveiled? In Season 3 of Stranger Things, we're introduced to a secret Russian facility hidden beneath an American shopping mall where scientists attempt to open a portal to the Upside Down. Sounds wild, but that idea isn't as fictional as it seems. During the Cold War, the US and USSR battled far beyond politics. They raced to dominate psychic warfare, energy weapons, and interdimensional science. While the CIA ran MK Ultra, the Soviets operated Project Stargate, training remote viewers and psychic operatives. Both sides explored brainwave frequencies, scalar energy, and communication beyond the physical. The obsession with portals and invisible technology was real, just never public. In the show, the Russians are trying to unlock what the Americans already buried, a perfect metaphor, science unleashed, driven by ego, power, and secrecy. And the question remains, is Stranger Things simply a fictional drama, or a softened version of real events that have already unfolded behind closed doors? And what if this secret war didn't end? What if it's more active than ever, just silent? The desert base is Stranger Things pointing to Area 51. In Season 4, we watch Eleven taken, against her will, to a shadowy location, an underground desert base, where she's told her powers can be restored. The location? Near the fictional town of Lenora Hills, California. But it all sounds too familiar to be coincidence. The hidden facility, the endless cold corridors, the silent scientists, the absolute secrecy, everything mirrors the rumors surrounding Area 51, the infamous military site in Nevada, accused of housing classified tech, biological experiments, and even non-human entities. In the show, the base is used to rebuild Eleven's psychic powers, treating her like a dormant weapon. In real life, some theories claim that similar desert bases have trained children since early childhood for a war not fought with guns, but with the mind. The American desert is littered with these sites, isolated, restricted, protected by silence and radar. The base in the series might just be a toned-down version of something real, something the public was never meant to see. And if what Eleven experienced is just a dramatization of what other special children endured, then we're watching something far closer to disclosure than fiction. Because when the story takes place in the desert, it's often because the truth was buried there. Fiction as a cover. Why is the truth told through entertainment? Have you ever wondered why these stories are always told through movies, shows, or novels? Stranger Things might seem like a brilliant piece of fiction, but the details are too accurate, the parallels too many. And maybe that's the safest way to reveal what can't be said outright. Wrapping the truth in fiction allows it to pass censorship and lets the public digest it without panic. Pop culture for decades has served as a kind of encrypted channel where creators, drawing from hidden documents, buried testimonies, and risky whispers, smuggle real warnings disguised as fantasy. Stranger Things talks about portals, psychic children, military control, and hidden entities. Coincidence? Or is it a camouflaged message, quietly dropped into a binge-worthy series? Because when you're watching TV thinking you're just being entertained, you might actually be witnessing the truth in disguise. And what if everything labeled just a show is really a coded file waiting to be unlocked by those who are paying attention? What if Stranger Things is telling the truth? The right way? After all this, Stranger Things might never feel like just a series again. The connections to real experiments, underground bases, mind control, gifted children, and parallel dimensions all exist in documents, in testimony, in places you'll never be allowed to visit. And if you thought it was all too strange to be real, maybe you're finally seeing what the creators wanted you to catch behind those flickering lights. Now tell me, what did you find most mysterious in Stranger Things? What moment made you think, this feels too real? Drop it in the comments. I want to know what hit you the hardest. And if you love content that exposes the hidden side of pop culture, hit subscribe now. Around here, we don't just watch, we investigate. Because when the truth is told as fiction, only the awake will recognize it.